Meeting to order with pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tony, can you take us to the roll call, please?
Mayor Hyde,
Present.
Counselor Johnson,
Present.
Counselor Quaid,
Present.
Counselor Hendrickson,
Present.
Counselor Jetta.
Present.
Mayoral update. I don't have one for you today. So we'll move on to public discussion. Now, there are some changes to public discussion beginning this week after a conversation we had and decisions we made at our last meeting. So public discussion is for any item not listed on the agenda, as it always has been. But it's also for any item where a motion will not be made. So if you do have comments on anything that is on the agenda tonight, but that we are not going to make a motion and vote on, that's fair game for public discussion. Discussion time is limited to 3 minutes per presenter. However, if you have someone that is giving up time to you so that you can speak to an item that you are both interested in or that a group of you are interested in, that speaker can have up to 9 minutes. Just please let us know ahead of time. All public discussion or talk of anyone that is in the audience can only be done at the podium when recognized by the mayor. That being said, is there any public discussion?
All right, Tara Alshire, 4802 Arnold Road. So just to make sure I'm clear, because I'm really trying to follow rules, the reports would not have a motion, right? So that would be part of this public discussion, right?
Correct.
Okay. I have some suggestions, just throwing it out there, and then some questions. I noticed that we have this awesome YouTube channel, but there isn't a link on the city website. I think that would be very beneficial, because sometimes when I'm checking specifically the minutes and the agenda, I cross-check with video, but then I have to go to, it just would be a quick and easy add. As far as the reports, I did bring up the data request last time. I was wondering if we could, for tracking purposes, I know Tony said that she dates when they get processed, which makes sense. Could we also add the date of when they're received, so we can see like roughly the processing
How long it
and like
takes.
how long it's taking? I had a question for Shane Downey, but maybe Daryl can answer it. In the Public Works report, or actually it was more on the invoice, but I saw one of the trucks, farm trucks got stuck. Do you know what number that was?
I do not.
Okay. Is Shane gonna be here? Anybody be able to answer that, which plow truck it was?
Shane will not be here tonight, but we can certainly get that information for you.
Okay, I just want the number of the truck. And then I was going to make a suggestion on a recent event that I have talked about a couple times, that there was a city employee involved in a physical altercation. And I am curious, because cameras have always been so present in the Alshire story. I'm just wondering why we don't have dash cams in these vehicles, because it was reported and witnessed by somebody that the vehicle was left unsecured, rolling towards an intersection. The replacement truck, I know this was the 2017 truck, but the replacement truck was 118,000. And so I'm just doing the math that if we had a utility truck rolling towards an intersection, if that really did happen, which it was supposedly witnessed, no, I'm not taking sides, but a dash cam would have been vital for the city in that moment. And I just think that that would be a good investment, especially when, obviously, again, closely related to the public works issues. And then I was curious about the employee drug testing. I know Justin got it twice last time. How does that work? Like, what's the process? What's the criteria for the frequency? And then how is the selection of employees?
I don't know the answer to that last one. Does anyone here know the answer to that?
It's a random drug testing after your first initial testing.
It's just random. How often do we do that?
Tony,
Once a year.
So it's just a random date and a random point. Does every employee get tested at some point each year?
No.
So it's just one employee once a year.
We have to do up to 50%?
Yes, so we have to test 50% of our CDL
Commercial drivers.
licensed drivers.
Okay,
And I can tell you how they have been done in the past because I did the drawing. And I used a random name generator and put in, and there was a point where there was only two. It was just two of the Justins that were included in there, so it was a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
And then we had one more driver, so there were three that were added. And so, yeah, I think for 2 years in a row, it was the same employee, and that's just the way it goes. And I actually have documentation of how that was drawn and done. Now this year, we switched to a random pool through, St. Luke's, Aspirus, St. Luke's. Now it's still gonna be the same thing. We're just paying to have them do the drawing.
okay, so.
Basically, but we still have to have 50% of our drivers, so we will have to have 2 of our drivers tested,
Okay,
or as of right now, it'd be 1.
And then because it's confidential medical, it will never go into the employee. You can't see it because it's personnel private.
Correct.
But then if somebody were to say have a positive, that would go to HR, or how does that?
It's in the personnel policy, yeah,
Okay,
have
Okay.
refer to the policy.
I'll refer to that. I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
thank you, Tara. And you brought up some good points here.
Yeah.
That I will look at further.
Thanks.
Is there any other public discussion? One last chance. Great, then we will move on. We have the consent agenda. Tonight, that includes minutes from the January 29th, 2026 performance evaluation for Justin Alshire. And also the council minutes from the February 23rd, 2026 meeting. Also executed claims from February 24th, 2026 to March 9th, 2026, totaling $123,570.12. Council, you had a chance to look at these 3 items. Then I will look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Counselor Hendrickson has made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Counselor Jecka has made the second. Before we vote, is there any public discussion?
Kara Alshire, 4802 Arnold Road. I just took a deep dive into these minutes. Obviously, it pertains to me, and this is a very emotional topic. So what I did was try to educate myself and then just use the city's website as a search resource, and it brought me to September 8th, where it was actually super ironic. So Mayor Heim, in your mayoral update, you make note of a Facebook post by Mark Mimi, and in that he specifically states all this information can be fact checked through meeting minutes, which just to me kind of solidifies the factual accuracy that we need to have. And then in that specific meeting, I personally spoke about questioning the reinstatement of Daryl to the city hall cameras, specifically that morning when he was reappointed. Jecka had challenged this and said he got appointed on the 23rd, which is not correct because he wasn't sworn into the 7th. So subsequently, that next meeting on the 22nd, I challenged to get those meeting minutes corrected because it was a misrepresentation of me, and I believe that it was meant to make me kind of look foolish, because I had to emphasize that I was challenging him to correct the morning hours because he was added back on the morning of his sworn in at 9 AM. So I guess to circle the wagons, I'm going back to, looking at these minutes. And when I did that, I started looking at some of the history that we have with meeting minutes specifically and Justin Alshire. And the meeting minutes are crucial, especially when I started referencing the grievance on 4/17/23, when the council discussed a grievance that took place for Alshire. And in that, it says the council discussed the matter and agreed that they are okay with purging the matter after 1 year and no same or similar incidents have took place. So that didn't happen. And that's why I like the minutes, because it proves that there are mistakes being had by, or mistakes are happening by other employees that never got talked to. So these actual things still live in Justin's personnel file. We brought it up multiple times. They were never removed by your city administrator, even though the council in the minutes agreed that that would be purged. He did not have another issue, which would have made the purging happen on February 22nd of 24. So that was one thing. And then when I went over the actual excerpt that Tony gave from the League of Minnesota Cities, it specifically states, because we were talking about the need of extra detail in having the minutes, but it also goes kind of above and beyond about the roll call on the votes and the motion and the votes of the members of the council who abstained, why they abstained. And then I wanted to just put here that it says the administrative actions are subject to greater judicial scrutiny.
Point of order real quick. Does someone want to donate 3 minutes to Ms. Alshire so she can continue to talk?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I wasn't even looking up. That we talked about it being a legal document, and this excerpt that Tony provided in that meeting specifically just kind of validates that, because it says that administrative actions are subject to greater judicial scrutiny and will be set aside if they are arbitrary or unreasonable. Therefore, it is important for the council to develop a good record with findings of fact to support that type of decision. So then I went down another rabbit hole with the League of Minnesota and saying that when there is an action by council, the votes need to be counted and put into those meeting minutes. That was exactly what Justin Alshire asked for at the end of that meeting, saying, will I find out who made what vote? So I'm here today with a couple questions. Where are the meeting minutes for 11/24/25 and 12/3/25? Because we know that discipline was taken. So those minutes need to be released. And if that's because of the investigation, I understand that, but I'm expecting to see them because you have stuff going on tonight again about Alshire. So I stand here today asking you, starting with you, Mayor Heim, I would like to know what your votes were, so we don't have to bring this back to the next meeting's agenda, because this particular meeting minutes have been on here 3 times. So why don't we just do it right, the way the League of Minnesota Cities says to, which is to put your votes on the public document that exists. So Mayor Heim, what did you vote for Justin's termination?
I voted yes.
Okay, Counselor Quaid? Johnson?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
Yes.
Jecka?
I voted yes.
Okay, thank you. Can you reflect that in those meeting minutes when you finalize them?
It does state that all council agreed in the affirmative determination of Justin Alshire's employment.
It says they agreed, but it didn't specifically put the votes, and that's where the Minnesota League says that you have to do a roll call, specifically, roll call with the counselors.
Due to the agreement that happened at that meeting, there was no motion and no roll call vote on it.
Okay, so when, like, an overall thing is made, you can't know who voted what? Like,
I agree with what Mr. Henderson just said. It states it in these minutes that we all agreed to it. So there's.
but not specifically naming it. That's where I was finding confusion with the Minnesota League, that Tony cited her stuff. So, But it is nice to know that you all wanted him out of here. That is great information. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any further comments on the consent agenda? And we will vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Department reports, administrative.
February has been filled with utility extension design meetings with our engineers, as well as meetings about the Rice Lake Road corridor final designs. We have a few utility projects we are planning for 2026, so we're trying to wrap up the designs so we can get them out for bid soon. We've continued to work on our state legislative bonding requests for 2026 and getting our presentations ready for them, as well as submitting some federal bonding requests. We will be presenting these requests to our legislators in March at the St. Louis County Days at the Capitol. 2026 legislative priorities can be found on our website on the administrative department page under informational links. A large part of the bonding request process involves our lobbyist, Jeff Anderson with the Costin Group. We keep Jeff and his firm on retainer throughout the year to help us secure state and federal funds for projects within our community, and also to assist with and inform us of any policymaking decisions at the Capitol that would affect Rice Lake. Since we started working with the Costin Group in 2018, they have helped us secure over $5 million in state appropriations and or low interest loans for projects within Rice Lake. I encourage residents that have questions on city operations, budgets, or elections to reach out to me with their questions or come to City Hall. I, along with our other staff members, are more than willing to sit down with them and answer any questions they may have or to provide them with additional information. And then just to update on the data requests, for February, there were 6 requests processed for 4 hours, estimated cost of $152. So for 2026, that brings our total to 7 requests for 5.5 hours and estimated costs of $221.65.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions, council? Okay, financial report.
Ending February of 2026, in our checking account, we have $2,534,624.55. And in our investment account, we have $1,628,439.19 for a total combined cash of $4,163,063.74.
Council, questions? Building and zoning department.
In the month of February, we had 1 commercial HVAC permit, 1 residential garage, 2 houses, and 3 right-of-way permits. Total valuation, $457,600. Total fees collected, $5,701.55.
Do we have 2 new houses going up?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Any questions, council? There is no animal control. Public Works.
That one?
Sure.
For February, under roads, a significant winter storm event impacted the region during the month, lasting approximately 2 days and producing blizzard-like conditions throughout the area. The city received an estimated 10 to 12 inches of wet, heavy snowfall, creating difficult plowing conditions and increased operational demands on staff and equipment. Public Works crews responded promptly and worked extended shifts to maintain safe and passable travel routes, focusing on priority corridors, emergency service routes, intersection cleanup, and high-traffic areas. Following the storm event, crews transitioned into post-storm recovery operations. During the final week of February, staff conducted snow benching and roadway widening activities citywide to restore full roadway widths, improve visibility at intersections, reduce drifting concerns, and create capacity for future snowfall events. Temperatures increased significantly toward the end of the month, resulting in repeated freeze-thaw cycles. These conditions caused ice buildup within several culverts, restricting proper drainage flow. Public Works crews utilize steam equipment to open block culverts and restore drainage capacity, reducing the risk of roadway flooding and infrastructure damage. Under utilities, Public Works personnel, including Shane Downey, Justin Schindel, Tony Bloomdahl, Robin Murphy, and Daryl Johnson, completed a comprehensive update of the city's utility infrastructure records within Diamond Maps. Project included verification of underground utility materials, pipe diameters, connection points, and infrastructure locations to improve mapping accuracy, maintenance planning, emergency response efficiency, and coordination for future projects. Lift station generator project update. The state electrical inspector conducted an on-site inspection of electrical work completed by Duluth Electrical. The inspection determined that one factory-installed grounding connection on each of the 5 generators must be relocated to meet current electrical code requirements. Corrections are underway, and the final closeout electrical inspection is scheduled for March 9th, 2026. Upon approval, the project will move to final startup coordination and operational readiness verification. Under parks, city park facilities remain closed for the winter season. Public Works staff continue periodic monitoring of park grounds and structures to ensure facilities remain secure, utilities function properly, and no weather-related damage occurs while preparing for spring operations. Respectfully submitted, Shane Downey.
Thank you. Fire Department.
All right, I'm filling in for Mark tonight. I'm Devin Sonic, Assistant Chief for Rice Lake Fire Department. All he has today is he had total calls for February was 27. We had 15 medicals, 3 gas leaks, 2 car accidents with injury, 2 public assists, 2 lift assists, 1 carbon monoxide alarm, 1 illegal burn, and 1 power line hazard.
Any questions? Thank you. Sheriff's report.
February, we had 143 calls for service, that's what we're on. 30 traffic stops, 6 accidents, and I had 1 accident with injury. I guess it must have been 2, somebody complaining of pain.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, pretty concise.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to new business. Fire Department auxiliary pancake breakfast donation. Don't you want to talk about this?
Sure. So I think this is the second year they've sent out a form like this. Last year, we did do the gold level sponsorship, which is $300. Donations for their fundraisers.
If you have not attended the pancake breakfast that they put on, it really is good food. I would recommend going. It's a good time. Bring your neighbors. I go every year. Discussion, council?
I'd be okay, donating if the gold level sponsor again. I think that's worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Then I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a gold level sponsorship to the fire department auxiliary pancake breakfast.
Councilor Hendrickson has made the motion. Do I have a second?
No support.
Councilor Quaid supports. Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay. Then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Trunk fee reimbursement to Minnesota Power.
So I've had some conversations with Minnesota Power. They are, so this is for the utility extension that we will be doing down Martin Road to Stepner Road. We have an EDA grant for almost 3.4 million. Minnesota Power is going to be contributing the other part of that project. And so their question is if the city would be willing to reimburse them for a portion of their costs. There is something within our trunk fee ordinance that reads, in the event a property owner installs sanitary sewer or municipal water trunk lines in a location that abuts the property of another and can provide sewer or water service to the property, the city may, but shall not be required to, enter into an agreement with such owner to reimburse the owner for a portion of the cost of such sewer and water line installation. All such agreements shall be valid for no more than 10 years. So this is in an area where we do not have a trunk fee set up yet. As some of it we did annex from Kenosha. So part of the process is determining what the trunk fees will be for those people that connect. And then within that, the city can agree to give a portion of those trunk fees back to Minnesota Power. If you're inclined to do that, again, the ordinance says you do not have to, it's just saying you may do that.
So basically, Minnesota Power is paying to put that line in.
Correct.
And so typically, we would not charge a trunk fee to them because they're already paying it, right?
Correct, yeah, we would waive their trunk fee.
So right now, it would just be future tapping into that line that they paid to put in.
Correct, yep, or houses that, you know, as they run in front of them, can connect to those lines.
Seems fair. Thoughts?
I just want to say I'm employed by Minnesota Power, so I'll recuse myself from this vote and end discussion.
Okay.
Have we done anything like this before?
Yes, and it hasn't worked out well. I advise against this due to the fact that they're already getting an EDA grant. They're getting half of this paid for already. We need those trunk fees to support our system. And if we're gonna be giving money away to developers, I would like some. I never did. I paid for it 100% and I don't get any reimbursement from any citizens that connect to all pipes I installed. We had this issue when Crenson extended the water and sewer up to the new Quick Trip site. And we had to write a check to Northland because we have this policy in place. And I believe after that, we canceled it, but I guess we didn't.
Why did we write a check to Northland?
Well, they made Crenson, who sold the land, write the check after the fact. That's not good business.
I'm not following. I'm following the concept you're talking about, but I'm not following that particular incident.
Developers receiving money in the next 10 years to connect to water and sewer lines does not seem right. Because we need that to fix and repair these lines for the future. So if we're gonna give money away, especially we already gave them 3.4 through an EDA grant. I think that's fair enough. They got it already half paid for and now they're looking for more money. I'd ask the council to think twice.
You make a good point.
So to help pay for like all of our pipes that we need to fix and everything else, we're getting those from those trunk fees, right?
Yes,
That's what we're trying to do with our the program that we approved.
Yeah, because once that line is in, we've got to maintain it. Is this something we're voting on tonight?
It is not, just Minnesota Power, before we move into the actual installation phase of this project, we need to have an agreement in place with them. And so this would need to be a part of that agreement. And so I would have to try to calculate what those trunk fees would be right now
Yeah,
in order to get something in the agreement. So I just wanted to kind of get your opinion before I spend a lot of time working on this.
But also understand, they get their, Minnesota Power gets their trunk fees waived. Because
Right.
they are
because
installed,
they're installing.
and that's fair. But given a money, especially from an EDA grant, that's, I think, a little gray area there.
Is that state fund? Yeah.
Federal dollars. So in theory, we're giving federal dollars to a developer.
Well, the trunk fees would take that money out of it before we decide what trunk fees would be. So we'd really only be looking at the portion instead of Power pays. Does that make sense?
No.
When we establish what the trunk fee will be,
Mhm.
we'll take the overall cost of the project, deduct 3.4 million automatically, and then take that, the difference, and break it up amongst all the property owners to see what the trunk fee should be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, how's everybody leaning on this? With the exception, Counselor Jeff. I guess I see where Daryl's coming from. We're gonna have to maintain this line forever. So any money we can get, look with that. We should take. My opinion on
I think, yeah. They're getting 3.4 million.
that. Okay,
I'd be okay with that.
all right, you have. I guess you don't have to work too hard on those truck fees yet.
Okay.
One other thing, as we move forward with this. It'd be nice to have that stricken from our policy. Because it concerns me for the future of selling out our utility department by giving money. And the reason I say that, because I already thought it was, because I was right in the middle of the Crenson Northland utility extension.
Yeah, I wasn't here then.
And it wasn't a good thing. So I'd like to maybe bring that forward in the near future.
Yeah, and that one was a little unique too, because Friendson's also extended our utility line, so they, in essence, were almost double billed, like they had to pay for connecting to what Northland had built, and they had to extend the mains. So,
It wasn't good.
Well, it looks like this is a policy we should take a look at
yeah,
in the near future.
sure.
And you're hearing it from a developer that would like that money back.
Well, I also think too, like looking at the future of Rice Lake, we just have to set a precedence of
Yeah.
what we're gonna try and do going forward. I think it is it's really important for the future of Rice Lake as far as what we decide to do here.
Okay, any further comments, council? Yeah. Public safety staffing. Oh, question?
Is that something?
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, this isn't something there's going to be a motion on, so,
Right.
but you're
It's
just,
underneath that motion? Oh, it has to have a motion on the end of it? Okay, my bad. Do you still want me?
If you have a
I
question.
just have a question. So are you saying that Minnesota Power's line would be private or public? Would it be a public line or like a city line, if you will? Or would it be owned by them? So if it were private, then would they get the trunk fees?
if it's private, no one else can connect to it.
Okay, so it's impossible to connect to a private line, is what you're saying?
Not impossible.
Okay, you would need the owner's approval of the private line?
I would have to say yes.
And
It's
would,
private.
so if it's a private line and then somebody were to connect to it, would the city get a trunk fee then?
This is hypothetical as far as I know.
It's actually not. It's my own experience.
Then bring it to.
Yeah.
City staff. These are questions we can't answer. They will have to.
You could answer it. He hooked us up to a private line. So, and then we signed an easement for it to give the city permission to extend, but we didn't know at the time that we were, connecting to the actual private section. And actually the landowner, Joetta Godden, didn't know that we connected to her part of the line either. So I'm just thinking about I think it's, what do I have? One was 20,000 and the other one was 12,000. So I have like $34,000 that I paid the city of Rice Lake for hooking up to a private line that they shouldn't have taken a chunk fee on.
Tara, again, I can't address this. I'm not familiar
You
with it.
never really can you?
Well, this isn't my area.
Mayor, for the record, the city of Rice Lake told me I could connect to that line for Tara Alshire, and I'm glad it worked out for you.
Did Joetta tell you that?
The city of Rice Lake, when you applied for your utilities and to build your new house, allowed you to hire me to hook up. I don't randomly go hook up the pipes. I actually have a record in my office showing it.
Okay. All right. Any further comments on this, Council? Public safety staffing. John?
Yes, we had a meeting with, Sheriff Ramsey and Commander Rash, Mayor Hyman, Counselor Johnson and I, just kind of talking about, our current situation with our one deputy and, if we feel like it should be expanded. They kind of gave us a comparison, excuse me, here with other cities similar in size to us and just kind of talked about the different departments. So we just wanted to kind of start the discussion on what do we see the future of Rice Lake as far as, sheriff, deputies, numbers, should we have our own? Should we be contracting with another department of some sort? So just wanted to start the discussion now.
Did you bring the numbers that they showed us?
Yeah. Like as far with other cities, I'll just read off a few on here. So City of Chisholm, which has a population of 4,687. Again, Rice Lake is 4,112, so a little more than us. They have 13 officers. We have one deputy. Proctor, a population of 3,082, has 8 officers. Mountain Iron, which has 2,878 population, they contract with the sheriff's office, and through there, they have 1 sergeant and 4 deputies. So, in comparison to other cities of our size, we don't really have matching numbers there. Slightly different because of our close proximity to Duluth and the sheriff's headquarters here. Some of these other cities are a little further away from their headquarters. And then he did also provide us with 911 calls, so this is for 2025. Again, Mountain Iron with the population of 2,878 had 3,159 calls. Ely with a population of 3,223 and 2,501. And then Rice Lake had 2,357 calls.
It should be noted that those exclude fire and medical. So these are true calls for service that need to be responded to by law enforcement.
And I will get a clean copy of this for you guys to share. We just wanted to start the discussion tonight and know this will be something we'll probably talk about for 27 budgeting, but
Were there any recommendations out of that meeting?
just to start talking and thinking about it.
When we asked what they felt the ideal number would be for Rice Lake, if we want 24/7 coverage before deputy. We have what?
How many, Jamie? 4? Did you say 4?
4. The other piece that he brought up is that whoever governs the sheriff's department, or the board, whatever, they're starting to take a close look at what communities or cities are doing for themselves as opposed to calling on the deputies. And it's, you could tell from Tony's numbers, we're not doing a whole lot for ourselves. And at some point, that's going to become an issue to the sheriff's department. Because they're providing all of our coverage. We're not doing anything for ourselves. So that may become an issue. So again, it's something we need to start looking at and budgeting. Figure out how we're gonna pay for this.
We can start preparing for it now, or they're gonna help us prepare for it. That's where we're at today.
What do you
Look
mean?
at,
Like, how would they, what would the contracts be? Was there, when you, it sounds like how would they help us do it if we don't do it? Like, what are the consequences of that?
as we move forward, we're gonna look into more of this, but they're gonna help us too. We're gonna look at other cities' budget. I don't know if Counselor Jecka has this, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cities with the same population. We have 7 to 10 officers, 6 to 10 officers in those cities. What they're saying is we need to start increasing what we have, but we are close to doing.
One thing, though, when you do look at the sheriff's report, it's not just Deputy Nordin's name on it, there's a lot of different names all the way through that. Is that just because you think the proximity of headquarters or that's?
Well, Rice Lake still falls into county. So if the dedicated Rice Lake car is not working that night.
Sure.
Somebody still has to go with the call. And it's not gonna be DPD, it'll be Rice, or sorry, the sheriff's office.
But they may be an hour away before they get here, or further. So they're willing to provide the coverage, but we have to pay for it. And so it's just, in the long run, taking a look at what is the most economic decision we can make for Rice Lake. Contracting for more deputies with the sheriff's department, or doing our own force, which means providing cars, maintenance, all the benefits, work comp. And I think we can probably do it cheaper by contracting through the sheriff's department. But again, we're not making a decision on any of this tonight, but it's something we need to start thinking about and getting creative and figuring out how we're gonna deal with this in the future.
I'll just say my biggest concern is the budget, and where we find room for the budget. And I think we paid close to 190,000 in 2026, so now we're talking about times it by 4. I'm sure it's not straight 1-to-1 times 4, but that's why I'm concerned about the financials of that and how we find the money.
We're just gonna have to inch forward into this. The sheriff said $162,500 per deputy is what it costs to put one deputy here.
And that includes
Everything.
everything.
So They're not saying we have to do this, but you know, we did our last budget and we actually started putting money there. I think we gotta start tightening up and put more. And will it be a levy increase? It's gonna have to be a little there, a little here, a little everywhere to make this happen.
So start getting, creative. Any other comments on this? All right, obviously this is gonna be a top conversation for a while.
I think also to talk to the public and see how important it is to them, you know, like Mayor Heim said, response time maybe an hour. Are they okay with that? Or are they okay with an increase in the levy? So kind of depends on what the public wants as well.
Definitely. All right, we'll move on to first readings. For first readings, we'll have staff presentations and council comments. We will not invite comments from the audience for these. There will be no vote taken today. But I want to remind you about the slips that are on the back table. If a question comes to you, and you'd like it to be addressed at the next meeting and you can't be at the next meeting or you're afraid you'll forget, go ahead and fill it out, leave it, and we will for sure address it at the next meeting. In addition, you can call any of the staff at City Hall to discuss any of these items. And at our next meeting, when we vote on it, you will be given the opportunity to comment. So, Tony, you want to talk about lawn care?
Sure, so we have a comparison here between Duluth Lawn Care and Greenscapes. Greenscapes did offer the option of the organic fertilizing and weed at the park. So you'll see that amount kind of broken out in the top up there. And then when you go down to the totals, in order to compare apples to apples, I did not include the organic price in Greenscapes totals there. We did also ask for quotes for mowing at the park. Just because we've had a difficult time finding somebody to mow at the park. We just thought we'd see what the cost would be for that. So you can see the two options there were, we're guesstimating weekly mowings for about 20 weeks. Comes out to those prices.
Any explanation why Duluth Lawn Care is almost doubled what Greenscape is for mowing?
No, I did have, Kim had reached out and kind of got these quotes, so I had her double check with Greenscapes and they sent a map back showing the whole entire park for that amount, so. I know for, Duluth Lawn Care, theirs did specifically note that that would be the price only if they got the rest of the contract.
Gotcha. Do we remember what we put in the budget for this?
I don't remember offhand, but the prices increased slightly, but not a ton from last year.
Because I still like the organic side, if we could do that, and based on these, I feel better around the park and the kids are there. There was another $1,100 more, whatever. With the organic side. And then, Greenscape is a lot cheaper. This is
Yeah,
fairly easy.
we're looking at $20,000 difference.
Yeah.
Incredible.
At this point in time, I'm not saying for sure we're gonna go with the lawn mowing. We just wanted to have it
Sure.
out there as an option, so in 2 weeks that may change.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions, council? When do you think you'll know about the lawn mowing piece?
I'll look too at what we budgeted for salaries for the park.
Yeah.
Just to see where that comes into play. And then I'll also look to see when we do need to lock in these contracts, because if we don't need to do it in March and we can maybe wait until April to
Mhm.
lock them in, then we'd definitely have a better idea of if we want to go the mowing route or not.
Here, can I point something out? If you look at these, I believe that the $1,190 that's in there is one option. There's actually the last document that's in there for the lawn care was $595 per week. Yeah. Am I missing something on that one?
Yeah, that one is only the soccer fields and
Oh,
stuff.
not the entire park. Okay, apologies.
And at this time, we don't have anybody lined up for mowing.
Not technically, no. So if you know of anybody,
Anybody?
From
It looks
I got an unemployed husband.
would have gladly mowed probably.
It looks like kind of a fun job. Part-time. Pat?
What are you looking for, Pat? Raise your hand.
All right, so we'll bring this back to the next meeting? Yep. Okay. Utility policies.
so we were just going through and kind of updating, looking at our current policy, seeing which ones we needed to update or, so for the utility account adjustment and write-off policy, Robin went through and updated this, kind of took out the portion because it talks about the utility commission, and now that we no longer have a utility commission, those would just come to city council for approval. And then she did also update, with our new water meters that we have, the way that she can calculate adjustments is a lot more accurate, so just kind of updated the policy to align with how she can actually calculate, a water leak or something to that effect.
Well, I didn't see anything that jumped out at me on this. Anybody else? One thing that I would ask when we bring this back in 2 weeks, could we have a copy without all the cross-outs so that it's easier to read?
Yep, we can definitely do that.
All right.
Thank you.
I hear it was unfair.
It's very difficult to get through that.
And then the snowbird usage adjustment policy, we've been doing this policy for years, like before I was even here. I believe it went through the utility commission because we have a snowbird usage form that we have people fill out, which has all this information on there, but we couldn't find an actual policy. So we just wanted to get this policy cemented and adopted. And you will know if that is referenced in the utility account adjustment policy as well, as that we can
Okay.
then adjust these accounts based on the snowbird policy.
Any questions or comments, council? All right, we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Okay, ordinance 60, residency restrictions for predatory offenders. Who's gonna talk about this?
Tony, feel free to kick it off.
Okay, so we had looked at this, I don't know if it ever came to full council before, but we had looked at this when, we had a couple of public informational meetings about predatory offenders that were going to be released into Rice Lake. And so we started the process of digging into, is there something we can do to restrict locations where they can live? So we found this sample policy. Somebody did point out to me that it does say the city of Otsego in the top corner there. Somehow that's tied to the PDF forever, so I don't even know that it was necessarily from there. I believe Hermantown and Proctor both have a similar policy. And basically what this would do is it would help restrict where they can be housed or released. That's in here. So it's unlawful to be within 2,000 feet of a school, a licensed childcare center, or a public park or playground. That's really the restriction that it will put on there.
So what this is, it's I think Mayor Hein was working with the state or Natalie's Eleznikar on trying to get a statewide thing. So we're waiting on that and things in St. Paul, it just takes a while. This ordinance would be kind of like a stopgap till the state gets theirs in place. When we spoke to the sheriff last Friday, he really supports having this. Just because he has a personal, I think his daughter works over at the school and they're always locking the school down. They always have concerns, and this is something that your city council can put out there for the citizens to have an ordinance. City of Proctor has it, City of Hermantown has it, City of Duluth has it. I personally spoke to the City of Hermantown. This was a no-brainer to have this policy. We took all three policies. We morphed it in my office. Last October, November, was brought to council. Carly did an awesome job on cleaning it up, making it look like the city of Rice Lake. Our attorney, I believe, has looked at it, Tony.
Yes, yes.
Okay. The sheriff's department, they've reviewed it twice. I believe this is a good thing for our community. It shows our community that we are looking out for them.
Question, obviously there is one home in particular that is concerning. What is the distance from that house to the school?
It is under the 2,000.
It is under.
They will be grandfathered and no one's going down to pull people out of homes. But it will stop future placements. Even the sheriff department thinks that the state could be placing level 3s there. This kind of hampers that. And there's been a lot of talk back in 2024 at the council meeting here that, oh, we're gonna get sued and all that. Well, it takes a lot to sue someone, and these people are coming out of jail. I don't think they got the means to sue the city. But there's things in here that can protect us from being sued. We'll let our attorney handle that. I think it's a good way to go. There is one misspelling in here, Carly, under public park playground. It's not a misspelling, it's a misword. It should say public owned instead of a city owned playground. Just change city to public.
Which section?
Section 3, public park / playground. Where it says a city owned, just say a public owned. Because then that covers the school. City of Rice, I don't own the school.
That's right.
Mayor, I know this is the first reading. We could invite somebody from 709 to come speak. And maybe Sheriff Ramsey.
I'd be in favor of that.
I would too.
We would like to ask, a member of the school district, 709, and perhaps Sheriff Ramsey to come and talk about this? And our attorney is on the phone, I assume?
Yes, yep.
Okay. We will wait on talking about the unfinished business and move on to the closed meeting. We have a closed meeting. Shoot. Anyway, it's closed to the public under Minnesota statute 13D-05, subdivision 3B for the city council to discuss mediation strategy with the city's employment attorney for the upcoming mediation relating to Justin Alshire's grievance of his employment termination. So we will close the meeting at this time. We will reconvene in an open session. After we are done with the closed meeting, feel free to sit around and wait if you choose to. We still do have one additional item, which is the employee sick leave donation policy. If you don't care one way or the other about that piece, feel free to leave now. So we will be retiring.
Close the meeting.
No, we won't close it. It's still,
It's still open.
Okay.
It's just
we
closed.
don't want it. Yes,
We're not
we're
adjourning.
not adjourned, yeah.
Yeah.
All of us. I'll keep that in mind. Good.
Yeah, so whoever should have pay now would be great, probably put it back. Got me back in there and then.
Are we all set? Okay, unfinished business. Employee sick leave donation policy update. And we will be having a motion and vote on this tonight. Tony, you wanna?
Sure, so, back in July of 25, we had, the council had adopted this policy to allow for employee sick leave donation for Justin Rosencrantz as the receiving employee. This winter has been a tough winter as far as colds and illnesses. So he's just requesting that we could extend the policy a little bit longer. It did expire December 31st of last year. So I'm just proposing that we extend it through April 30th of this year. And then just changing the hours that each employee may donate. Originally it was up to 40 hours and just change it up to 80 hours.
Okay, I have a question. I mean, I've worked in places where they have a policy like this all the time.
Yep.
Permanent policy. Is there some reason that we limited it when we put it in place?
I don't know that we did have a reason for. We were doing it specifically for his situation. But yeah, there's nothing saying that we can't open it up to everybody for donations. And I don't know if we want to do that tonight, just because I don't know the other side of the ramifications that may come with that. But
Yeah, I would be. I would be willing to look at that as a long-term solution. Not just limited to one employee, but to have it open to everybody.
Sure.
I like that too.
And I know, maybe do some research to see what other places do. I believe some allow donation of vacation time as well, like someone has a death in the family and needs extra time off. Well, sick time isn't really appropriate for that, but vacation time would be.
Okay.
What are the rest of
I
you?
agree with that.
You know, that's my first kind of instinct is goes along with what you're saying is why I put a time and limit on it. I'd like to, get you and Shane's input onto that first. If you guys are okay with it, that's kind of where my head's at.
Somebody did ask the question too, and I don't believe there's anything in our policy that allows it either, but if we can go into the negative, meaning you can take sick time knowing in 2 pay periods, you're gonna, accrue enough to cover for it. Somebody had mentioned some places do that as well, but,
I don't like that.
okay,
They may quit in the meantime.
they could, yes, that is true.
So would you like us to is this something that we're in dire need of right now? To extend this policy and just do that, just a short extension, but then look at a complete policy
Sure. Yep.
down the road here?
Yeah, and if you want to just do this one through the end of March too, we could do that, just shorten it and then that way we can look at. I just put April because there's sometimes some spring colds or flus that pop up too.
I think it's okay to keep it at April, because otherwise next time we'd have to redo it anyway to have it in place for the April meeting.
I agree.
Okay, so just so we're clear, we're looking at extending this one until the end of April. But in the meantime, take a look at developing a policy that encompasses all staff.
No,
Okay. Now,
along with PTO.
well, we have separate sick and vacation, don't we?
We
You
do,
don't have
yes.
PTO. So
Yep. Yeah, but you'd like to look at both.
I would like
options
to
of
look at
doing
both,
sick
yeah.
and- Okay.
Okay,
then I'll look for a motion on this particular policy right now.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee sick leave donation policy.
Counselor Henderson has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Counselor Jackman has made the second. Do we have any public discussion?
Suppose, I mean,
Yes.
Janet Mays, 4152 Nelson Road. Question about the sick time. Are you guys like allowed like a week or 2 weeks of sick time every year? Or is it only on an annual basis? So what does it typically end up being if you work a full year and you're 40 hours a week?
I can put that up. Yes. It's 4.31. 4.31 per pay period.
So
It's paid period.
typically you'll end up with what, 40 or 80 hours of sick time?
112.
Okay, so how are you holding one person accountable? I mean, I know they're donating their time, but you should be holding everybody accountable to their time that they're allowed and not allowing them to go over and, you know, expect donations. And I know about the using the sick time ahead of time. There are some companies that will allow you to use it ahead of time. And if you do end up leaving, then they turn around and take that pay back from you, as like a prorated kind of thing, because you used it before you earned it. So I just don't think, I mean, everybody should be allowed the amount of sick time, and if one person uses it, they use it, and if the other person doesn't use it, then they don't use it, but it doesn't make sense to me to be able to shift it over to somebody else. I mean, everybody gets the same amount of time. You should, you know, you have to make that work. That's what most people do in most of their jobs. This isn't a policy that's blanketed across most, businesses. If that makes sense.
It does.
I don't know that. I mean, everybody should be allowed the same amount of sick time and you have to plan accordingly.
Well, everyone is allowed the same amount of sick time. Not everybody uses it, and certainly they're not required to donate it. But if they choose to help out a coworker, I don't have a problem with that. Just me. Just me. I'm not speaking for the rest of the council.
Here, Al Sharon, 4802 Arnold Road. I just, I wanna do a little quick math. I'm trying to do it in my head here. So I know my husband, Justin, donated 40 hours. And this was brought up on July 28th, and I know that because that's my daughter's death date. And I specifically brought that up because I said, I think it's really awesome that the council is doing this. But what's concerning to me is when you start thinking about it, okay, so Justin Alshire, who was not even treated kindly by Rosencrantz, gave him 40 hours. I can't imagine that Justin Chanel didn't probably do that. Shane, Tony, Carly. So, I mean, you start looking at that, we're up to like almost what, 200, if everybody gave the 40 hours, that's 200 hours. That's 25 days. That's 8 months and 25 days up. So now you're firing somebody while somebody else is supposedly not able to show up. You said you needed that fourth worker so badly, but I mean, none of this really makes sense. And why is he gone so much? I have children too. I understand sick days, but I definitely haven't had 200 plus hours of sick days. I mean, there is something abusive happening here. And I just do the math and figure out how many hours were actually donated before we start being bleeding hearts for a situation that seems to me, and if I remember right, Rosencrantz was the one and the only one that would always and never take a lunch and leave at 3:30. So his days are already shorter than the other guys that would have been scrutinized for that. So just take it in consideration. I know it's a sad situation. We've all had them. Jamie, you've had them. I've had them. But do the math because 200 plus hours and roughly where I'm coming out with, and it's like, that's a lot of time to burn up.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor of extending this policy to the end of April, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, that concludes our agenda. I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.